Okay, recording is on. We will post this to YouTube after the Loopring community call is finished. This is the third community call. Welcome, everybody. A great turnout already. Thank you very much. I'm sure people will pop in and out as it goes. But yeah, really happy we are back here. It's been a few months since we've done it. We had a good rhythm going. We did 1, 2, and then a hiatus. So now we're back with a lot to discuss. I'm Matthew from Loopring, leading the business side of things, and we have Brecht, our chief architect, the only other face visible on the screen here. And we have some amazing community members. Oh, David's also visible on the screen. David's been kind of leading the Loopring LATAM effort. And as I mentioned, he just finished translating the app into Spanish. So that'll hopefully be out in the next few weeks. And yeah, obviously some amazing community members I see from your little initials on here. So thank you, everybody. Let's get right into it. So let's start on the technical side, handing it over to Brecht, which will inform maybe a lot of questions and a lot of direction about what we're working on right now. I know sometimes it's a bit opaque what the team is working on. It's not as open as we'd like it to be. I'd say we've also struggled to communicate in this fast-moving past few months. So let's rectify that with these calls, with the community forum that's now live. So just to let everybody know, community.loopring.io is like a forum where we could get out of the hectic pace of Discord and actually have things that are more visible for longer and have discussions. And as governance heats up within Loopring and the upcoming Loopring DAO, community.loopring.io will be a great place to have these deeper discussions. So I will hand it over to Brecht to talk about a few of the things he's working on. I'll preface it by saying we're working on some really cool things, as you'll hear momentarily. It's been a while that, since Loopring protocol version 3.6 was deployed in November, which was the second version of our ZK rollup, after kind of a year of learning, Loopring version 3.6 was the one with AMM functionality and a whole bunch of efficiency improvements. There hasn't been a big release on the protocol side, which is kind of how we want it. We don't want to be updating the protocol every week or so. So since November or December, the protocol has been pretty steady state. No flagship big features, but all the while, Brecht and his team have been working on some important improvements. The main theme, I'd say, is making Loopring's layer 2 less of a silo, less of like a vertical building that doesn't interact with the rest of the ground floor. That's been the main focus, even though by definition that's a bit of what a roll-up is. As many of you know, inter L2 functionality is a big topic, and we've really been thinking about how to allow Loopring L2 users and their assets to be used productively and efficiently outside of Loopring's core functionality. So outside of our order books, of our AMMs, and out of payments, how can we use it on layer 1? So Brecht has kind of, maybe the community will actually help us name these functions on this call. We are calling it L2 to L1 bridges or ports. Brecht will describe what that means, but yeah, that's just the big thing to keep in mind right now. So Brecht, I hand it over to you, please, to discuss what you're working on right now.
Okay. So yeah, I think I see in the chat that ETHport is a cool name. I'm happy to hear that because yeah, we kind of try to give it a loop. The name is to be disclosed, I guess, the final name. But yeah, the main technical stuff I'll explain a little bit now. I'll try to not go into too much detail. You can ask questions if you want to. So the one feature is like the one that I also already talked about on the Discord, is like this very efficient converter from one asset to another. where like we can just batch up a lot of trades on layer 2, and then there's only like one single batched L1 transaction on L1, and this could be like very efficient. We could do that for like lots of different tokens, but it's still like a bit limited because it only works for like token swaps, like from converting one token to another. So it's a bit limited, but it's very efficient to do. The other one is like the bridge functionality, which we teased a little bit on Twitter. Is like fully bridge from and to Loopring without really having to contact us, or like we having to approve certain functionality. So if people want to do allow mass migrations to Loopring from another rollup, or even like a centralized exchange, then they can just do like a batched deposit to Loopring, and that's like much more efficient than doing each deposit, of course, specifically individually. The other one is, of course, like going from Loopring to L1 or even other rollups. So to do that, we have this concept of bridge calls, and so people can just sign a bridge call, and that allows us to use this bridge call with other bridge calls that kind of do the same thing, but they don't have to do specifically the same thing. Of course, it's more efficient if it's completely the same, but even if they do different things on the same token, it's already more efficient than doing like a deposit, doing the L1 thing stuff, and then probably again a withdrawal. And the great thing is that people can just write these. I currently call them connectors. So this bridge connects to a connector, and everybody is able to just write connectors that implement whatever they want. So it can be like connecting to an L1 dApp, or it can even connect to another rollup to do mass migrations to another rollup. But the great thing is like, yeah, it's like a standard message, standard transaction that the relay just needs to handle, and the relay doesn't even need to know what exactly the functionality is. It's just a standard transaction. We just batch them up, and like all the stuff on L1 or the migrations to the other rollup is just more efficient by default. So of course, the one thing that you need to know is that it all depends on how much batching that you can do. So if there's only like one bridge call that does one specific thing, then it may be a little bit more efficient than having to withdraw, do the transaction, and do the withdrawal. But of course, the main power is if there's lots of these bridge calls that do certain things that are in common. So that's the big thing. So you can even think of like something like Uniswap. There's like a new token that was released. Somebody wants to buy this new token on Uniswap before we list it. If there's like 5 people that want to buy this token, then it will already be like 5 times more cheap than just doing it on L1. So and you can do that with all things on layer 1. So that's kind of like a big benefit of also like ZK rollups specifically, because we can like compared to like optimistic rollups, there's like this extra difficulty of extra time before it's final, or you need extra capital to make it more efficient. Like ZK rollups don't have these problems. We can just do the L1 transaction atomically with like how we submit our blocks, and yeah, in the best case like this, there's like minutes between actually doing the bridge call and it's already executing on layer 1. Yeah, that's the best case if the feature is like very popular. If it's not popular, then it can like 1 hour or more before we can like really batch the necessary transactions. So yeah, and the other one is like the bridge contract doesn't need flash minting. The other one with like doing the aggregation on layer 2, we need something that allows us to aggregate all this all these trades on layer 2 without really having any capital ourselves. This is where the flash minting comes in. So we flash mint the necessary tokens to do all the trades on layer 2. We aggregate the actual tokens that people want to sell, and then we do the selling on layer 1 or whatever, and then we repay the flash mint like that. The flash minting could also be like a feature that we could give users that want to trade on Loopring. So we can just say like, okay, do you want to lend some ETH from us? No problem, you have to repay us, but yeah, you can do like arbitrage very efficiently without really having any capital or stuff like that. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it.
Okay, Brecht, what's like a rough timeline for this, if you could hint at it?
The smart contracts are well, they are in a ready state, but like some optimizations and some tweaking still necessary. All the code, like we are not also always so public with like announcements and stuff, but all this stuff is already on GitHub, so it's not like any secret about what we're working on. If you look at our GitHub most of the time. So the code is there. The UI is, of course, like one of the things that we need to create, and then also some relayer support to handle these specific transactions. Should be fairly simple because like it's very similar to existing features that we already support. So I think we should be able to get something usable like next month or something like that.
Okay, that's awesome. As you guys know, as the community knows, we Brecht's saying it's almost ready. Like, we like to build before we announce things. That's why I was asking Brecht if we could hint at it last week and talk about it this call. So this isn't so prospective. This is done or very much in progress. For those watching the GitHub, I guess you have a good view on this. But yeah, maybe we should start kind of telegraphing our intentions more to the market. Maybe that's something we could get better at. So wheels start turning, or attention, or whatever that is. But a few questions. So Coin the Phrase said, flash minted loan paid back within same block. Explain in layman's terms how those loans are paid back. What if the user made a bad trade and has less than what was borrowed? Is a certain amount locked in to protect the procedure?
It's impossible to not pay back the flash loan. So if we would submit blocks that wouldn't repay the flash loan, then that's impossible. So if the trade went bad, then it can't happen to begin with, because the flash loan needs to be paid. There's no security risk or something like that by having this danger of doing a bad trade or something like that. It's impossible to not repay it back.
Right. Okay. Mr. K, you had the right answer there. Thank you. And I guess Waterhouse, that answers your question as well. What happens if they don't pay back in time? Then it doesn't happen. It's really cool. It's hard to get your head around that. But okay. So yeah, we're looking at next month for that. Brecht, anything else on your side that you want to mention? Or actually, okay, let's move on from there. I'm going to come back to you when it comes to the smart contract wallet, perhaps being on a layer 2, which some people know what we're talking about there. We'll come back to you. We'll stop the technical talk for 1 second. So let's go. So Bogdanov says, when iOS app will be launched officially? So yeah, this is a good question, and I'd say like a pretty bumbled or fumbled launch on our side with iOS. The community was so requesting it that maybe we rushed it. Although I don't think we meant to rush it, right? Of course, the smart contracts are 100% secure. We would never rush anything that poses a serious threat security-wise. But the iOS app itself was buggy. It crashes. It doesn't have certain features. So on behalf of the team, I apologize for people that found the iOS app before we announced it. Obviously, it's naive of us to think that just because we don't announce it or get loud about it, that nobody would go into it and then have a problematic time and it crashing. So that was not great. I feel bad for the iOS users that did download it and maybe a bit of a leaky bucket who think it's a poor experience. As far as I know, the next update solves the big bulk of problems. The crashing, the inability to migrate your wallet out of there. So I think the next update is the big one. The rhythm of new updates has been like weekly or bi-weekly, and then with a bit of lag for Apple processing it. So yeah, I don't want to promise anything, but I think we are really close for it being a usable experience. I'm not sure if on parity with Android, but from what I know, the next update is a good one. Some people have already I'm not sure because I'm not using iOS app, but some people said, okay, some problems are already, being solved. It's not as frustrating as it was. So again, real apologies for the iOS users, for making you wait, and then for delivering something way suboptimal. So sorry about that. Okay, so I see Dietmar's question. I'll just continue going on a few more topics before we go back to the questions. On this topic of products, I want to just say like a general sense. This is really from Daniel, who again can't be here right now, but we believe that the next, I mentioned in a tweet, like a 6-week plan. We think that our products are actually not as great as they could be. For sure, the iOS app, but even Android wallet and the web app. As many of you know who are in the Discord or follow us, we're working on a new web app which has the wireframes completed already and is beginning development. I believe that the new web app, which will be a lot more beautiful and more intuitive, will be ready by the end of April. So that's why I call this a 6-week plan. In general, we have the desire to really focus on product these next few weeks and slow, even though we're not the most promotional and marketing and spending lots of money on liquidity mining, we even want to go further in that conservative direction over these next few weeks. We feel it rather ineffective to draw people in either through marketing or liquidity mining programs, essentially the same thing, only to have them have a subpar experience. Really, not to say that this is just Daniel's decision, but the whole team believes we only want to put our best foot forward. Yes, layer 2 season is now. Everybody is coming. There's a rush. We all feel that stress. Like we all probably don't sleep as well as we ought to because there's a lot on our mind and we know that the time is now. However, we really want to make good products. As you know, if you read a recent post that we wrote on what Loopring is and isn't. I say in that post, Loopring is a different beast. It really is unique. There's no analog for what Loopring is. Building a ZK rollup, let alone the first ZK rollup, building the relayer that operates that rollup, building the user-facing products on top of it, the Loopring exchange, and then building a smart contract wallet protocol and the smart contract app itself. There's a lot of stuff going on. We think this ambition is going to be rewarded, and we have a vision of a future where this entire stack is just real force to be reckoned with. But it also means that some things are rough around the edges, right? We're not just building a dApp or building a protocol. We're doing a lot. Sometimes people think that's bad, that you should just focus. We actually do think we are focusing, even though we have a lot of things going on. The focus, it's all really coming to a head at becoming a user-facing product company. As you know, in general, and also from that article, we are not so concerned with getting other developers and builders and protocols onto us. That is like, so in that sense, we are focusing on the user experience. Everything we're doing now is just to make great consumer grade financial products. So we have the protocol, the wallet, the app, the relayer, all of this being optimized in tandem to end off with a great experience for all 40 of us here and the thousands of other users on Loopring. Currently, there's about 18,500 users on Loopring's layer 2, a bit less than 6,000 wallet users. It's still so early. We're the leading layer 2 right now because we've had a head start and we've done good work, but we're not blind to the fact that big competition is coming right now. And I know a lot of the community, I'll speak on behalf of the community, thinks, Loopring, you're going too slow. You must be pouring on the LRC incentives. And you have a point. I really agree with you. In a lot of discussions, I am that voice because I hold that position and because I try to represent the community. But I often end up conceding that point because what is the point to throw money, right? We have a finite runway. We didn't just launch a token that has no value that we're just dropping on new liquidity providers. We've been around 3.5 years. The token is already widely distributed. We don't want to kind of waste our ammo before our absolute best foot is forward. We've come too far to be short-sighted is one way of thinking about it. So I'll end this monologue, but I just want to convey an important message and to hopefully avoid some frustration from users saying, oh, you're going too slow. Optimism's launching this one, this layer 2, this one. We're well aware. We can't stop, this. We research this as well, and we see all the new projects, but we really want to get our products in just a delightful state, right? If you remember a few months ago, the support tickets that rushed in, right? Then we needed Brent and Ben and some other great mods who joined and really helped in the Discord. Imagine when the whole world comes in, right? When we're actually consumer ready. We want to have a great product that stops issues at the door rather than with support tickets, which is something we'll have to build up as well, the support system. So again, I'll end that here. Hope that this is well received by the community, that this next 6 weeks, Brecht is finishing up everything he just described, some really powerful features. A new web app is coming, which will be a really nice experience, I believe and hope. And the mobile wallets will up their game as well. iOS in a big way, Android in a more refined way. So it's really kind of buckle down time. And we expect by the end of April, or let's call it May 1st, to have, give or take the standard delays that may happen. But we really hope to be just in a leading position right there, ready to pour incentives on the flames, marketing, and really get loud about it. So I'll pause there. I'll look at some questions here. By the way, if anybody wants to speak, please do or raise your hand. I'm not sure if I'm missing any hand raises. I'm sorry. I'm clearly not that great at moderating this thing, but okay, I see at least one awesome from Christian. Thank you. From B, Loopring does have the potential to bring the mainstream to DeFi. Jack, leading layer 2 based on which metric would provide insight into what LRC is a strategic collective focus on going forward? Leading layer 2, yeah, I guess, I've taken that fact for granted given that we've been in a big lead all this while. But I think in terms of users, there's 18,500-ish unique Ethereum addresses that have interacted on Loopring layer 2. I'm quite sure that's far out in front. And in terms of assets, I know we reached 250 million. Now it's come down a bit. Nobody likes to see that, but I think we're still at 170 million or so. That is the most for a layer 2. Keep in mind, when I say layer 2, I mean it in the strict definition, not side chains, not other things. I'm talking roll-ups, channels and plasma could be layer 2 as well, but we're not side chains basically. So I think we are still ahead in terms of those metrics of TVL or users versus some notable side chains, but yeah, I don't want to mislead, but I think we're the leading layer 2 if we use the real definition of layer 2, inheriting Ethereum layer 1 security. Thank you, coined the phrase 18,500 is amazing. We think it's great, but we really want much more. I mean, we do want to bring the masses, right? Like most of the team is based in Shanghai, where everybody has their complete financial services life on their mobile. We believe we could be that for the Ethereum parallel financial system, right? Your bank, where you store it completely securely, where you invest it, where you trade, where you transfer. Like that's what we're aiming for. We used to have a wider scope. We used to wonder, hey, should we get others to build their protocol on us? And that's why, I mean, even though we're doing a lot, we're still focused because it's all a coherent message of just building the best consumer products possible. Okay, so back to here. Thank you, MBA. I really don't want to miss all these questions. Also, okay, just for, okay, I'll get to the B. We'll get to LRC tokenomics in a second because I have a few points on that. Is Loopring still being considered as the main ZK rollup for ETH2? Any plans for Lrc staking again? Thanks for her work. Thank you, Z. I wouldn't call us the main ZK rollup for ETH 2.0. Vitalik famously called it a rollup centric ETH 2. So Ethereum 2.0 being like the data availability and verification layer for a massive ecosystem of rollups. I don't think it's going to be 1,000. I think it's going to be a dozen max. Maybe that's even too generous, but there'll be some leading rollups where the activity happens, ZK rollups and optimistic rollups. So I wouldn't call us the main one. We might be in a leading position now, but that won't necessarily strictly be true because we are application specific. We are not allowing anybody to come build their custom things like, let's say, an Optimism will do. We are optimizing ours for a certain outcome, but we of course think we're going to be a massive player and one of the main ZK rollups for sure. Dietmar says, what's the best way to move from L1 to L2? Batch deposits? Brecht, could somebody do batch deposits right now or no, still single asset at a time deposits?
Still as a single asset at a time. Currently with the bridge, of course, there will be, like, the bridge allows capital efficient mass migrations from and to Loopring. So there's no other party needed to facilitate these transfers between rollups. So you just collect those transfers, batch the withdrawals, go through the bridge, and then do the deposit again on the other rollup or the reverse. We are also talking about with a couple of projects that will allow that to be like immediate, like you can move from one rollup to the other immediately, but that needs like this extra mediator that can that has the necessary capital to allow that. So I think both are very beneficial, and I think they are both important.
Awesome. By the way, Z, I know your second part of the question, any plans for LRC staking again? I'll get to that. It's not going to be that simple style staking, right? If you maybe read the LRC V2 mechanics, we'll talk about that in a second, but there is a way to use your asset productively, but it's not just like vanilla staking, let's call it. Manas, thanks for being here. You're great in the community. Will Loopring support NFT on L2? Anything on the product roadmap? So something we've discussed, we think NFTs are awesome and important. We do not have immediate plans for like protocol level NFT support. Although our protocol could support NFTs, we still have a Merkle tree of like finite space of like 65,000 and something tokens. So obviously that's a lot, but that means like we could only support 65,000 tokens. Like if we support just like NFTs like kind of wholesale, then you could quickly see that we'll start filling up those slots. So it's not like an aggressive NFT strategy, but keep in mind there's other ways we could support NFTs, like maybe just in the wallet on a UI level, right? Allowing people to display their NFTs on their L1 from their L1 balance. So just like a UI thing. Breck, anything from your side on NFT related thoughts?
Well, the it's kind of like a different thing. Like we have the smart wallet, of course, and the protocol. And the smart wallet can live on multiple layer twos. So if we deploy the smart wallet on, let's say, Optimism, and Optimism has the NFTs that you have, then of course we can just build it into the smart wallet, and you can display them there. They aren't stored on Loopring Exchange, on Loopring protocol, but you have them in your Loopring wallet on the L2 that supports it, or the L1 that supports it, of course.
Right. Okay. So that actually brings us to the next point I wanted you to touch on, Breck. As many of you know, onboard, like the most expensive thing, anything Loopring related, is deploying a Loopring wallet, a smart contract wallet. It's literally you creating your own smart contract, which is an L1 heavy operation. As opposed to just onboard. I know it's a point of contention. Some people say that users don't know they could just get on Loopring's layer 2 without the Loopring wallet. That's a side point, but just want to address that we're aware of that. But Breck, what are we doing to solve the Loopring wallet deployment problem, the gas heaviness?
Well, one of course is like the bridge between different rollups. So with the Loopring bridge, it's efficient to go from one rollup to the other without, like I said, like no capital needed, and also very general. So any rollup that supports any kind of mass migration, we can support, can be supported, and we don't even have to write the contracts ourselves. So if there's like a roll up and they want to interact with Loopring, then they can write the necessary contract, and the bridge is there, capital efficient, and all is done. The other one is, of course, like doing the smart wallet itself on L2. So I have been working on like a simplification of the smart wallet design, which should make things like pretty much more efficient on layer 1 as well, but it's also compatible with Optimism. So it compiles for both Ethereum layer 1 and for layer 2 Optimism. So it's compiling now. There needs to be some extra testing, and of course we need to do like the UI stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, the code compiles. It's like a simplified design, so we will be able to add features and stuff like that more efficiently and easily than with our current design. And so people can create a wallet. It's really a choice for users. If they want to create a wallet on layer 1, they may want to create a wallet on some other layer 2, which is in our case the Optimism. So people can just deploy whatever layer 2 they want to do stuff on. They have their funds there. They can do other operations on the L2 if those are supported. And then we have this Loopring bridge or some other kind of efficient way to let users move funds from this layer 2 to our Loopring exchange. So that's kind of like the way forward. You don't have to do the very expensive L1 operations anymore for both the smart wallet deployment and like the deposits and withdrawals. Yeah, you can do them batched or depend on these specific intermediate parties like state channels to move the funds between the rollups.
Okay, so that's like a really important point to highlight. I think it's really exciting and maybe counterintuitive. Brecht's talking about deploying our smart contract wallet, or a simplified version of it, on Optimism, which is really cool, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, Optimism is coming!" Like they're a big.
Yeah, it's not a simplified version. It's like it's the same feature set as our current smart wallet. It's just a simplified design, which allows allow it to be more gas efficient and allow upgradability in a more easy way.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. So yeah, I love this point because I think it kind of shows like Loopring's flexibility and our goal of building the best Ethereum products that just scale, right? Scale in terms of like throughput and scale in terms of just social feasibility, people being able to deploy this contract without it costing $200. And another type of social scaling, meaning like the smart wallet does not require seed phrases, so it's more appealing to millions of more users who don't want to have their security maybe on a piece of paper, but are comfortable with social relationships being their social recovery. So it's really cool to think that Loopring was the first implementer of a rollup on Ethereum, period. Even though we are not the cryptographers that invented much of the primitives, right? It really was Brecht's amazing work with others to deploy the first rollup on Ethereum. Now we're talking about, we have our own ZK rollup, but we can still use another rollup like Optimism to just advance our goals. So I think that is just so exciting and unique, perhaps. It's just crazy to think that Loopring could be one of the, not best, but the most prolific or earliest builders on Optimism. So that just really excites me. And by the way, other ZK rollups as well. Something I'll address is, you might have seen that Loopring invested in ZK Sync, Matter Labs, generalizable ZK rollup, because everything we're talking about will only get better when we could do everything directly on a general purpose EVM compatible ZK rollup. So again, just to kind of hint that we are not focused on only doing everything ourselves. We will use the best tool and technology for the job being creating the best financial services and applications on Ethereum. So whether it's optimistic rollups or another ZK rollup, we can integrate it into us. So just really exciting. And sorry for rambling about this. I'll go through some questions quickly. Okay, Sel, nice to see you, Sel. Thank you. You've been awesome lately. Any chance you guys are working with the Immutable X team in regards to their ZK rollup Validium shenanigans, being able to interact with their platform directly from my L2 Loopring wallet once it launched would be awesome. So not specifically with them, but Immutable X is awesome. I recently did a little show where Robbie, their founder, was also included, and he's just a great roll-up evangelist, and I'm really excited to see what they do. And they're powered by Starkware, who we definitely speak with a lot, and Brecht just took their kind of Cairo language little course, or spoke with them about that. So again, even though we're looking at ZK Sync, which is kind of the thing closest or in direct competition versus Starkware's Cairo general purpose ZK rollup, again, we're looking at both, whatever tool is best for the job. So we're definitely aware of them. And Brecht's mass migration thing that he's been speaking about would be, and the bridge would be a way to interact directly. Right, Brecht? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah. So if there's just the necessary contracts that anybody can make and deploy, funds can move from Loopring exchange to whatever roll up. So immutable. Of course, NFTs won't be. Yeah, you won't be able to directly deposit NFTs that we don't support in the Loopring exchange, of course. But for actual funds like ETH that you want to buy NFTs with or whatever, those bridges can exist.
Awesome. Thanks, Sel. Mr. K. Loopring has broadly 3 sets of customers to acquire: ETH BTC traders, microtransactions, simple sends, and DeFi users. Does your marketing and analytics account for this? Which set of users have you been most successful with so far? Great question. I'd say, speaking without exact analytics, because I'm not so sure we've been able to bucket them according to how you said, but I do think you're pretty right on. Our first users were just probably really, eager Ethereans and DeFi users. I think our user base is a lot of just Ethereum hardcore users who love the idea of, wow, we could scale without giving up security. Loopring was the only game in town for a year for them to play around with that. And then more recently, since let's call it July of 2020, gas prices pushing users, DeFi users, or microtransactions, kind of both groups that you mentioned, onto our L2 by necessity, them getting priced out. So again, I think after our products are we're happy with them and there's not so many issues, we will be much more sophisticated with our marketing and knowing which cohort or bucket they're coming from. But I think you like rightfully name those three. But yeah, I think successful with so far. I think it's just been like a bit of a mesh, but yeah, getting like early adopter Ethereans and people who are priced out. Yeah, I don't. Breck, do you have an opinion on that? Who our biggest users will be, or what they have been so far?
No. I don't have the data, so it would also be like just guessing. So I'll not do that.
Right. The truth is, like, everything has been shifting so fast. We haven't been able to be like normal autopilot mode with like normal style data analytics. Of course we are. We're not completely just oblivious to it, but we're not in like kind of real growth mode, just acquiring users and doubling down on certain channels. But thanks for that question. B says, if you onboard onto L2 Optimism, would the bridge from Optimism to Loopring exchange be fast or delayed? Right?
Yeah, so on the Loopring side, it's easy because both deposits and withdrawals are pretty fast, so like just a single block time, so half an hour at most for withdrawals. For the optimistic bridge parts, like deposits are also as fast as Zk rollup. Withdrawals could be like up to days without any help of some other mechanism. But yeah, no doubt, like we already see solutions popping up for that, like the Maker bridge that allows pretty fast withdrawals from Optimism. So it will, if it can use like the actual bridge that people can create, can use any of the existing mechanisms that can exist for Optimism. So good ones will no doubt pop up because yeah, Optimism will be pretty popular, no doubt about that, and like lots of work in creating solutions like that. So I'm not worried about it.
Okay, great. Something that I remembered I wanted to mention to David, who's still on the call, I believe. All this talk about implementing our wallet on Optimism. David, just to let you know, and something I mentioned to the community as well, but because David is actually building an app, a mobile app on Loopring layer 2, so this is important for him. He really wanted the ability to have normal EOA wallets within the Loopring wallet. So not a smart contract wallet, but just like a normal wallet with a seed phrase, an externally owned account in EOA. We signaled that we were open to that, but given Brecht and our progress in implementing the smart wallet for cheaper, we will not really regress and offer a normal wallet. We will double down on the smart wallet, but in the cheaper mode. So I just wanted to say that to David. Of course, we could take that offline since you're actually really involved. But I just wanted to let everybody know that if you saw that in the Discord. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll reassess this decision. But we rather not just do something like dumber or easier if we're nearer to building something better that accomplishes the same goal of cheap onboarding. Although there might be merit, maybe people just want to have an EOA account within their wallet. Okay. I'm going through, coin the phrase, not rambling. You guys are absolutely pioneers. Thank you. I think I'm rambling. When single-sided AMM functionality to mitigate the impermanent loss? Great question, Hallway Monitor. Brecht, do you have a thought on this? Brecht has really been looking into impermanent loss protection.
Well, there's no real way to solve impermanent loss, I think, as well. So there's a lot of discussions about it. I'm not saying that I'm any specific expert into AMM curves and whatever. I just looked into it quite a bit. So if you look at something like Bancor, then you could say they solved impermanent loss, but yeah, they just pay out like they pay out the difference. If somebody had like impermanent loss, then they just pay out like the difference. So we could also do something like that. So we have these protocol fees, and the protocol fees we say that we will give to AMM liquidity providers. And so like the amount of impermanent loss somebody had in this pool could be a deciding factor on how much of the protocol fees we give to this specific user for this pool. So and I'm not saying that it would completely offset all the impermanent loss. Even Bancor has like this 90 days, I think, 90 days or 100 days that you have to be in the pool before the full impermanent loss would be paid out. But we could offset like part of the impermanent loss with the help of the protocol fees. So I think that's I think the most practical solution. Well, it's not a solution; it's a practical mitigation of some of this impermanent loss without having to do too much of a like completely overhaul how the EMM works. But yeah, it's like every EMM would have the same problem. It's just a difference in how you tackle the problem. So of course, Uniswap version 3 is coming out soon. They probably will be able. They probably will have some interesting stuff in there as well, which we can learn from. But yeah, otherwise, no immediate plans for that.
Okay, thank you. Just to reiterate what Brecht's saying there, and this brings me to like an LRC point that I want to get to. He's saying with the protocol fees, if you guys have read LRC version 2 from like 6 weeks back, I think we published it. But those protocol fees, we and the DAO, when it is initiated, can decide to pay more protocol fees to those LPs who suffered the greatest impermanent loss, which is really nice flexibility, accomplishes the same goal. Yeah, so really, as Brecht says, it mitigates it, it doesn't solve it. So on this point, before I get back to the questions, LRC, so it's kind of crazy. We wrote that blog post 6 weeks ago, LRC version 2, like, so just like kind of simple staking is gone. We just lock up your LRC for no reason, and we used to pay out fees. They were very modest because the old version was not so, not so many fees. But by the way, now that that's done, right? Version 1, everyone is migrated, staking is over. So it's actually really nice to have a fresh slate ahead of us and like no more version 1 stuff. So Loopring protocol version 3.6 has been around since, let's call it December 1st. I think it was actually like November 20 something. Since then, all protocol fees that have been accrued and are still being accrued, they have not been paid out yet. If you recall in the LRC v2 post, payments are going to happen monthly. Right now, the configurations are 80% to LPs, 10% to insurers of Loopring's layer 2. So people that do kind of just stake passively, but not uselessly, let's call it. It's productive. It's if there's ever an incident that it comes out from the insurance fund. No incident to date though. And then the DAO, 10% going to the DAO, with the DAO doing whatever it wants, maybe paying it to LPs, maybe paying it to LPs that suffered a permanent loss, maybe paying it to insurers to up the yield. So that's it, right? 80%, 10, 10. That's been accruing all this time, but we have not yet paid out, like, let's say for December, for January, for February. We will, so here's a bit of an announcement, for the first time of all this time that has passed, at the end of March, we will pay out the first batch of protocol fees from Loopring version 3.6, according to the LRC version 2 model. So that's that. I say it's kind of funny or weird because we announced the model, but it hasn't been like implemented. No one has seen the benefits of it. So just to let you know that, let's say on April 1st or around there, we'll run the calculations. The relayer will take into account all the different protocol fees, which of course is verifiable on chain, given that we're a roll up and all data is there. We will distribute the LRC to its rightful recipients. How that will be distributed is not completely determined because I said 80% goes to LPs, but which LPs, right? Is it all? Is it some? Also in the article, it says 80% to LPs with 50% going, 50% of that 80%, at least 50% going to LRC related LPs. So people that were doing LRC ETH or LRC USD or X versus LRC in the AMM pools. That, by the way, intuitively is just a bonus, a reason for people to hold LRC. Not all LPs share the same amount of protocol fees proportionally. LRC gets the lion's share, or at least half of it, because it's LRC. So I just want to make that clear. Of course, we could like discuss this offline in the community forum, but what will be the exact distribution? We are not sure, and we want the community's input, but we are leaning towards taking that at least 50% to its logical extreme, maybe not logical extreme, but to its extreme in this first payment amount, and going all to LRC holders, to LRC LPs. I say this, this could be reversed, this decision. It is not a decision, in fact, but it is our intent to reward LRC LPs proportionally more thus far. And then going forward, the DAO will decide, of the 80% of protocol fees going to LPs, how will we split it up? Will it be purely proportionally? So if ETH WBTC becomes the largest pool with $1 billion a few months from now, are they getting their proportional share of the protocol fee? Given that at least 50% must go to LRC, or maybe they revert that decision. So maybe it's hard to follow me. Like in my head, this is a well-formed thought, but talking, it might be hard to grasp. But I just wanted to say that the first LRC protocol fees will be paid out around the beginning of April. The exact ways it will be paid out, stay tuned, probably in the community.loopring.io forum to hear about that. Brecht, anything that I just missed there about LRC, or any thoughts on that point?
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay. Okay, great. I'll look at these last points. In my opinion, you should try to incentivize LRC holding as much as possible. Agreed. B. Domob says the same. I agree. And LPing LRC is not the same as holding, so I'm not sure about that approach of giving protocol fees almost exclusively to LPs. I see what you're saying, Domob. Yeah, anyways, well, this is a bigger discussion to have, but the point is, like, LRC is going to be used productively. Like I said before, like, we're never just going to distribute fees to LRC holders. No protocol does that. Like, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to make a wrong statement. Like, some might just distribute it automatically, but in our opinion, a protocol, the beauty of this system is to incentivize behavior that is good for the network, for the protocol. We think that is liquidity providers, insurers who are kind of like saviors if things go awry, and the people actually governing the protocol and making the decisions, the DAO. Those are the three actors we identified that have a stake in Loopring and have a way that hold Loopring and might want to use it in one of those ways, either by being an LP, by insuring the protocol, or by voting, by using their LRC to vote and then getting a say in it. Maybe, by the way, the DAO, one way of just paying out LRC holders is by paying out the DAO itself. If you voted with your LRC, so that's not just holding LRC, you have to have voted, but if you voted, then the DAO could take that 10% and pay it to itself. So strictly speaking, just doing nothing with LRC, it's very unlikely you're not going to get anything. But either voting or insuring or LPing, you're going to get something, and those slices will change. So, okay, I see B is a fan of that. Okay, so that's the LRC little announcement I wanted to make. So in 2 weeks from now, I'm excited we're excited to have the protocol fee go out. Okay, I'm scrolling back up. I'll try to wrap up, by the way. Let's try to wrap up in, 5-10 minutes. It's we're a bit over an hour now. I'm going through questions. Okay, back here. Sell, if you need a data analyst, hit me up. Thank you. You very well may. MBA, do you plan to highlight more the payments use case? Loopring Wallet offers instant transfers, gas-free, and secure, which is overlooked a lot. I agree, MBA. Often it's overlooked. Our API is very stable. There's a lot of, like, our API for transfers, there's a lot of people looking into it right now. We're so focused like inwards that we haven't done a great job of like evangelizing that message. We will, and and we must. And indeed, like projects like David's, Remy's World, if you see, like he is going to be using Loopring for payments, right? Specifically in Latin America, where users might, really not want to interact with expensive L1. So, agreed. We have to get more loud about that fact. Coin the phrase that may become part of the genius of automated data sets. What happens on the order books and stakes? Agreed. That's a sorry. I thought it was a question. It's a good point. Mr. K, any plans to team up with popular fiat on-ramps? People need support for various fiat currencies and fiat transfer types depending on their country. Absolutely. This is one of the top things people mention to us. We're speaking with them. We've spoken with many of the major ones. It's quite simple, I believe, how it would work. They would just interact with our API. It's more of just like, I guess, business level discussions, them prioritizing integrating Loopring. One just like practical matter is they would need to have funds sitting on Loopring layer 2 ready to kind of give it to users immediately, right? They wouldn't use their L1. Like if I'm buying 1,000 DAI with euros on Loopring layer 2, whatever fiat on ramp, they want that DAI to be on layer 2 immediately, right? To get that benefit of instant onboarding. So kind of it's a capital efficiency issue a bit. How much money should they hold on Loopring? Should they hold $1 million? Obviously, they scale it up as it scales. But just to let you know, like the considerations that are in the works, it's like a business case. It should be perfectly feasible. Maybe we go with one, maybe we go with several, but that is definitely a big thing. Manas, again, will Loopring allow for leverage trading in the future like DYDX, which is now going to be on Starkware? That is actually not top priority right now. If we wanted to allow leverage products, there's an easier interim way to do it, which is allowing like leveraged products, like indexes, not margin trading on the platform, but having a 2x ETF or a 2x index, right? Stuff like that. And then, of course, something Brecht used to work on quite heavily was like a margin trading part of Loopring. The truth is, it's a bit of a regulatory concern for us. As we operate the interface, derivatives are treated differently. We are not kind of like trailblazing there yet. We rather build out this core functionality before we get. I think it's really a regulatory consideration. Brecht, do you have any points there on the margin or leverage trading side, technically speaking?
Yeah, no, we could do it. I created the design for it, but yeah, then we kind of put it on hold because of the legal problem, possible legal issues. So yeah.
Okay. Mr. K, any plans to build a block explorer? Yes. Brecht, do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, so we will build a block explorer using Subgraph. So we have a team working now, Protofire, I think, that's working on the Subgraph part. So yeah, looping data will be available using Subgraph, and we'll use that data to build a block explorer on top of it. So yeah, that's coming. I'm not sure about the timeline. So the subgraph is currently still being made. But yeah, maybe next month or in 2 months or something like that.
Right. We expect this subgraph to be done probably in a month. So maybe a few weeks after that or a month after that, the Explorer. Just to be sure, Brecht, right now, all the data is available on chain. Like we expose it via Dune Analytics, and that's where a lot of people read what's going on in a Loopring rollup. When we build a block explorer, will it show the L2 in transit transactions, things that are not committed or published to Ethereum yet, but somebody that just interacts on L2 and they want like a receipt for having done an L2 interaction before it's published to L1?
That's a good question. Of course, the subgraph won't have that data. So if we, I can't comment on that. I'm not sure. So it could have that functionality, but I'm not sure when that would be added.
Okay, so if that's just to expand on that, what I'm saying is the block explorer will show everything that's like final, that's been committed, proven, and then submitted to Ethereum and done. What some people want is when they click transfer on layer 2 to have some type of receipt or some type of just notification that something is going on. Like a block is when you have a pending transaction on layer 1, you see it. We do not have that on layer 2. The finality we're talking about, what we're talking about exploring, is everything that's been finalized on layer 1. So being able to look, and you'll still be able to like dig in and say, oh, my transaction was included in that batch, which was submitted to Ethereum here. But yeah, just to expand on what we're asking about there. Mr. K, in my humble opinion, the fourth and potentially most important group to incentivize people marketing and spreading the word. Manhattan.finance is working on this approach, is keen on working on this approach. Yes, agreed. I know you have like really great ideas and you sent me some information. I'm really keen on actually hearing your ideas, digging in a bit more. I've started to. I'll get back like offline, but really thank you for your involvement and your ideas. It's great. Thank you. Okay, coin the phrase. Question. It's okay if you don't have an answer for now. I think a lot in terms of where the world, global economic governments want to take the industry. The biggest concern I have is with regulation. You guys and Vitalik, et cetera, will figure out the tech and hurdles. With reg, have you discussed any kind of future planning if there was an attempt to remove privacy from wallets, trading, DEX, et cetera? One thing I thought of is that if DEX decide universally to ignore potential future compliance, they could potentially go straight after things like Google, allowing MetaMask, et cetera, controlling the on or off ramp. Interested in whether you guys have discussed any kind of position on how to protect the future of DEX. Great point and question, coin the phrase. I think it's over my head. You really laid it out well. Like I would have said, yeah, they can't really stop it. But then it's like, yeah, then they go after the tools to get there. I won't like take up this time to kind of just think off the cuff. I don't have anything super insightful to say, to be honest. Brecht, maybe you do.
Nope.
Okay. Sorry for the let them coin the phrase. I would be curious to hear your thoughts as well, although maybe we're all just, have to see what's coming. I'm your Huddleberry. One big advantage Uniswap has is the ability to quickly bring new tokens to market. The user can simply paste in the contract address until the token is on a trusted list. Matt, you once said Loopring would not be able to do that due to regulatory concerns. Are there any strategies on the horizon for dealing with this? Good question, related to the above a little bit. Yeah, and Brecht kind of touched on it as well. Like we could allow anybody to register a token on the ZK rollup. Then it's a matter of our relayer recognizing it, saying, correct me if I'm wrong, please jump in, Brecht, at any time. This is how I conceptualize it. Like the relayer saying, okay, I see this contract that is registered on a rollup. I will facilitate its, I'll support it. Transfers, trades, remember the relayer does all the heavy duty work off chain. So it has to speak with the protocol. The relayer does not want to support bad things, maybe a known scam token or something that is unequivocally a security, because it's a single relayer, right? Remember, the single relayer has no ability to hurt users. That's the beauty of a ZK rollup. I always say that because single relayer sounds, but the truth is the single relayer has to be aware of the regulatory considerations for those. First of all, it's not even regulatory considerations. We don't want to support anything because we don't want our users to get hurt. We're really building user-facing products now, not just open, we're building user-facing products. Even though everything is 100% open source on the protocol side, non-custodial, we still don't want our users to buy like a scam coin on the Loopring wallet. That's just like a human level thing. The regulatory thing is right up there as well. So I don't have like a solution to that. I'd say like we're pretty loose and open with our strategy. Like we've never rejected so many things. Like you see, we list kind of all the tokens that are out there. We're not being so, but yeah, of course, the ability for a user to do it is a beautiful property. But near term, the relayer will still have discretion to choose. Maybe that changes one day. Maybe it doesn't. Any thoughts, Brecht?
Yeah, I think yeah, technically there's nothing that stops us from doing that. Of course, there's like special tokens that do special stuff on transfer. So like getting a fee on top of the transfer, which would stop our relayer from actually tracking the correct balance. Because yeah, let's say if somebody transfers in 100 tokens, and then this transfer function actually only transfers 90 tokens to the deposit contract, then we will still think that there are 100 tokens in the contract, and so everything will happen with 100 tokens on layer 2. But then people will want to withdraw, and there's only like 90 tokens there because yeah, there's this non-standard transfer function which we don't follow on layer 2 exactly. So that you could say that's a problem. On the other hand, it's also another problem because if we don't care about our the safety of our users, then yeah, you just don't want to trade that token on layer 2. So if it's not fully supported on the rollup, then you just stay clear of that token, and nothing bad could happen to you. But of course, yeah, that needs some technical insight or some knowledge about what you're actually doing. Yeah, it's not clear if we would want to do that. And for like how fast we can support things, like in most cases, also correct me if I'm wrong there, Matthew, but listing tokens we can do pretty easily because we just look at the contract. Most of the times it's like 100 just vanilla ERC20 token. We just list it by having a look at the contract for like 5 minutes, and that's it. The token is listed. People can do transfers. People can do deposits, withdrawals, and the token is pretty well supported. There's just no possibility to do trades, and that's where also this new bridge functionality can come in. So only the token needs to be listed to be able to do bridge operations with that token. So if we list it, then you can already buy it, for example, on Uniswap in batches very efficiently without us even enabling any kind of trading, which would, well, depending on the token, would have like pretty bad liquidity to begin with because it's very new token and only like there's a single pool that allows like the initial distribution. So this bridge stuff can actually solve that problem pretty well and like very efficiently as well. So I think that's like a pretty big improvement, even if we don't allow like random tokens to be registered.
That's a great point, actually. I didn't think about that. Yeah. So what Brecht is saying is like there's a difference between supporting a token just to be deposited and withdrawn and transferred versus trading it. Trading is like the thing that you have to be more careful about. But with the bridge stuff, if there's 1,000 users of X token, which is either too new or unsure regulatorily, like, so we can't list it. But Loopring, users, like they combine their purchasing power and get the 1/1000th cost by completing the trade elsewhere, like on Uniswap. That's a great point and a pretty good answer. Thanks, Brecht. So would the DAO be able to vote in tokens? And then B says, any timelines on DAO insurance? So I'm not so sure what you mean. Would the DAO be able to vote in tokens? Like the DAO will be LRC token voting, if that's... Oh, good point. B says to the list he means. That would be interesting. Like, I think it could be. At the end of the day, though, we have to respect the technical things that Brecht just said. Like, we don't want the roll-up to think 10 tokens are coming in, but only 9 are because of like weird burns and rebases. So like the DAO, this is like a general concept to keep in mind. Like the DAO will be the leaders, the governors, but it has to respect some things that just cannot be kind of done away with, right? Like the relayer, if it's clear that a token is bad or harmful, I mean, Brecht said maybe we won't care about it, but that's just not likely. We will care about it. The relayer will not want to hurt users or have funky behaviors. And then there is the regulatory, like, so maybe it can support, maybe the DAO could vote in tokens, so it all goes through the DAO, but for trading, the relayer has to have like quite a seat at the table, because the relayer is run by, you know, people who have like real world considerations. But just to get it on board, I would love the DAO to take it over, and I'm sure it will, to be honest, in terms of at least like prioritizing tokens. Okay, these are the ones you want, and then they vote them in. Maybe not for trading support though. Good question. B, any timelines on DAO/insurance? Brecht?
Yeah, it's basically a prioritization issue. I don't know if I messed it up, but yeah, I think you get what I want to say. So we want to just make our apps better. Like it's really a UI problem. So the insurance contract, we just depend on the Aave contracts, so we can just deploy them whenever we want, and it's live on L1. But yeah, if there's no nice UI, I think we should just wait on the UI to be there, because otherwise we have all these issues. So like we did it for the 3.1 stuff. People had to interact, go to Etherscan, do the interaction, and it's kind of not what we want to do, I think, in the future. So we want to be able to allow people to do that on this using the smart wallet, or like just some nice UI before we actually make it live.
Right. Same thing with the DAO, right? Which is going to be used just like token voting of Snapshot, right, Brecht?
Yeah. So the priority first is just getting our main basic products ready and make them better, and then focus on the other stuff.
Okay. Hodlberry suggestion: lean into decentralization. For sure, we're right there with you. I mean, what we always lean into, or like never have even moved remotely away from, is never sacrificing Ethereum security, right? Like never compromising it. I know that's not the same thing as decentralization in terms of censorship of the relayer. But yeah, this is just like a trade-off space of a single relayer will be able to optimize for its use case, be able to, like, if you think about an order book case specifically, multiple relayers, which would solve like the censorship resistance problem, would be a degraded experience for order book trading, where the single thing knows the order books and matches it very fast versus speaking to other servers, other relayers. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Not to say that we prioritize fast order books over everything in the world, but we prioritize like a really good experience, like a user experience that will completely outcompete the legacy incumbents, but always maintain 100% self-custodial Ethereum level layer 1 security. The single relayer, it has its trade-offs, but we believe it's a competitive advantage in like a lot of like viable markets. Okay, we'll take these last few questions. Thank you everyone for sticking around. Quite great. And I'm so happy that we didn't have to cancel it. I hope I didn't just jinx it and the guy comes back and
kick off Matthew. Okay.
puts back on whatever, I won't say it. Z, how will ETH2 ultimately implement L2? Will it ever be possible to migrate all assets in a wallet to L2, or is it always necessary to bridge each coin individually? So my take from that is like ETH2 will not be implementing L2. Like it's like L2 is just going to be on ETH2 like the same way it is now. Although ETH2 has in its roll-up centric mind and roadmap things to optimize for L2, right? So like sharded data availability, maybe making certain operations call data cheaper. If that's what you mean by implement, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, Brecht.
So I think the question is, I think it's always going to be roll-up specific. So you could create a roll-up where tokens don't have to be pre-registered. That's totally possible, but it's just a way to do stuff more efficiently now that we've chosen to do it like that. So it doesn't really depend on Ethereum 2.0 or whatever. It's really just an implementation detail of the specific rollup, which most rollups currently still